and welcome to Teen Talks by Teen Thoughts. And for our audience, if you don't already know, Teen Talks is a teen-centered show in which you will be indulging in conversations from teens across the world. And I'm so happy to have you all here. And my name is Sanvi. I am one of your hosts, and I use she, her pronouns. And I'm going to pass it on to my co-host, who will introduce herself.
And I'm Sierra, and I'm your other co-host, and I also use she, her pronouns.
And just before we get into this, we have some rules because rules are rules. And so please place the gender pronouns you're most comfortable with using in your little name thing. And I see everyone has done that, so that's great. And then please don't use any slurs, hate speech, or offensive manner. Respect everyone's opinions. And with that, don't talk over other members. This is for you to just kind of go with the flow and whatever you'd like, but try to maintain respect of not talking over anyone else. So with that being said, now to our topic and to get started.
All right, so for our first ever episode of Teen Talks, I am proud. And now leading into 2021, we will be talking about COVID-19. And I'm going to open it with the first question. So we were all in quarantine for a little while, for a long time. So whoever wants to jump in, I want to know, what do you think you've learned most in quarantine, whether or not it's a hobby or something you've realized about yourself? And anyone can take it away, but if not, I can start if no one's comfortable jumping in. So, all right.
Okay. I definitely noticed that, I've always known I'm a very extroverted person, but I feel like we kind of take for granted being able to be around our friends. And so I think when lockdown happened, it was really tough for me to kind of keep in touch with everyone. There's Zoom and, with technology nowadays, it's really easy to stay in contact with everyone, but it's just not the same. So yeah, that was definitely something that I had to grapple with.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you take it away.
Oh, okay.
I think everyone's ready now. Let's just go. You go ahead, Felix.
Okay, well, I definitely agree. I'm kind of more like an ambivert, but I try to keep my friends close to me. But over quarantine, I just realized that it's really hard to me to maintain that little, I guess, outlet to talk to them. And over that course,
Definitely. I think you were glitching a little bit, but we did get the idea. So thank you.
I think that for me, I've kind of really started to recognize, again, just kind of relationships with other people and kind of how to maintain that in a entirely virtual world. For a while, I kind of fell out of contact with just about everybody and just didn't hang out with anyone. And I feel like this entire pandemic has also really kind of brought attention to my mental health and struggling to maintain that and figuring out new ways to cope in a new time. And I do feel like you do learn a lot about yourself, kind of who you are without other people and versus who you are around others, and what positive or negative impacts you have or lose from not seeing people in person.
I think it's safe to say that quarantine has definitely made it feel like you know who your real friends are, people who want to reach out to you, people who are still wanting to talk to you, hey, I know things have been, even if it's the boring, how you're doing, that's still the fact that you even got the text at all. I think that just means a lot, because some people are just people who just don't, who need that little push. And there are other people who just don't care. And I think it's so important to see people still reaching out, especially in a time where we feel like we've been put in a box, which are our houses.
Yes, I completely agree. Rena, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, like Sierra said, you can really know who your real friends are. But also, I'm kind of an introvert, so I'm fine without talking to people for a while. But it's also nice to like know who your real friends are, but also like some people just don't know how to talk to people on text. So that's interesting to like see. They must have like no communication for however many months it's been now.
I agree
Right,
completely.
because I'm a call person. I don't know what you guys are, but I love calling more than texting. So
100%.
okay, let's move on to the next question. So, besides what we have learned about ourselves, or something that we learned in quarantine, what are some maybe guilty pleasures or entertainment that we found ourselves either going back to or figuring out in quarantine?
All right. I'll start off here. I binge watched the entire show Sherlock for the first time, and am now rewatching it, but with my brother this time. Um, I have been writing constantly and then not writing for extremely long periods of time. Writing is how I cope, and then when I just don't write, it's like we're not writing anymore. And it's not even really a guilty pleasure, it's just kind of like what I've been doing with my life is just being cozy. I have a lot of blankets, and I will just kind of wrap myself up, lay down, and spend my entire day like that.
I love that. That's amazing. Okay, I guess I'll go. One of my, I think, guilty pleasures is definitely reading. I don't think it's anything to be guilty of, but I absolutely love reading. And I've been recently reading a lot of new, interesting books. So that's interesting.
I don't mind jumping.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I've always liked baking. And I know like a lot of people like just got into baking during quarantine, but I've definitely like just kind of like continued baking as I usually do. It's just so like cathartic and like really soothing. And I also really like working out. I know that definitely helps with my mental health, like just kind of that like release, like, and especially when you're kind of like in like a bit of a rut, I find that, getting up and like just doing something like active, like it doesn't have to be anything intense, definitely helps a lot.
The fact that you have the motivation to keep working out is so commendable.
It's tough, but once you do it, you definitely feel a lot better.
Commendable. The motivation.
I'll like keep doing it for 2 weeks and I'll be like, oh, I can take a break. It's like my cheat day, and then that cheat day just never, ever ends. So
Agreed.
that's the. Okay, but Rena, you were going to jump in, so jump on in.
Yeah, I've been drawing a lot and watching way too much TV. And I mean, I guess there's not that much to do, but I've been drawing and watching TV and going on walks in my neighborhood pretty frequently. Also, like reading books because that's fun.
I think most important entertainment wise, a lot of old shows that we didn't think about for a while, like resurging, like, and a lot of fandoms, the Avatar fandom, how like it like resurrected during quarantine because Netflix finally made the smart decision to put it on there. And then we got Legend of Korra too. It's weird because we're like currently in the present, but it's like the past is kind of catching up with us, if that makes sense, or like we're going back. Because I mean, it's weird because it's just so, it feels like nothing has changed, but everything is changing.
Yes.
Can we restart Lego Ninjago
around us, and like we can't stop it. Oh my gosh, that's so good. I love that. Okay, Adrien, do you want to hop in? What are some entertainment things that you've done over quarantine?
Well, I mean, working out and reading, two of like the main ones. That's what I've been doing. But then I've also been creating music, and I'm very grateful for that. I'm very grateful I have that opportunity. Also, creating like 8-hour playlists for me just to like sit down and listen to it. And like what you said earlier, like the past is catching up with us, and I have like an 8-hour playlist of like 50s and 60s music that I have never listened to, but I love now.
Ooh. Is Frank Sinatra in there?
She's nodding her head.
Mm-hmm. Also, don't forget to plug your guys' everything at the end.
Yes, we would love to tag y'all. I think everyone's.
I think that.
Oh, go ahead.
No. It's fine. I feel like we're all like these conversations are so like flowing that it's like it's the weird abrupt part where we're like,
Yeah,
you go.
I definitely agree with everyone here. I think there's a lot of different enjoyment, and I love everyone's creative process. And I definitely think creativity is a part of that, like writing, creating music, art, everything. So preach to that.
Oh my gosh, right. I think a lot of things were taken for granted before COVID hit us. Because when COVID first started coming out, I remember being in my classroom, and this was back when, before like the shutdown, people were making memes about COVID. It was just the biggest joke. No one ever thought it would catch up to us. And we're like, haha, like, oh, like Wuhan, look at them, like it'll never be us. And lo and behold, it was us, and we're still probably suffering the worst. I think we took for granted how we could go outside without a mask. Like if I knew this was gonna come, I would have been like every summer, like every day, I would have been like, hang outside, we're hanging outside, we're gonna do whatever while we have the time. Oh my gosh. There's a lot of things that I would just change before if I knew.
I agree. So adding on to that, what are some things you guys would change in your past if you knew that COVID was coming?
Hug all my friends.
Yes.
Hug them all. Just like hug them all really tightly, and also reschedule I believe the day before my family went into lockdown, which we went into lockdown, I think a week before LA County shut down. I'm in LA area, which is actually really hard right now. We're kind of epicenter now. And the day after my mom put us in lockdown, because it was going to be a couple months, right? This was going to be a couple months. And I had a date with my partner. We were going to do a movie night the next day. And I saw him in person, socially distanced. I guess that's 2 days ago now, for the first time since February. And that's just like, if I could go back and just reschedule that for the week before, I'd do that in a heartbeat. And just see everyone again and just tell everybody, hey, I love you. I care about you, and we're going to be fine. Yeah, I'd do that.
That's so sweet. I love that. That's so, so sweet.
Because hugging is a sin now. If you hug, you don't hug. Everyone watching, no hugging. You're not allowed.
Funny story. I think it was like the day, so it was on March 13th when they finally announced like we were technically going on lockdown. We're not going back to school. I was hugging everybody. And I know that I shouldn't have done that, but luckily I didn't get it. It's fine. But I would have told myself not to do that just for the safety. But yeah. Oh, and definitely not to leave my PE stuff in my locker. I thought we were actually going to go back in May, and I left all my clothes in there because I'm like, okay, they're already clean. I'm just going to leave them in there. And then we never went back to school. So do not do that whatsoever.
So you said PE. PE equals gym, and gym equals school, which is the perfect segue for this next question. Thank you very much. So, how has your school life been affected by COVID? Besides, school shutting down, how have you guys been handling schoolwork? Is it too stressful? Do you just not want to deal with it at all?
I'm a college student, so it's definitely been pretty tough, like not being able to go to campus and things like that. And kind of like going back to like the last question in terms of like what we would change. I was supposed to be on exchange like this whole year. So I actually go to college in New Zealand, but I was at UC Berkeley last semester. And so I was only there for like 2 months, and then lockdown happened and like everything went online. So it was just so sad that like this whole year I planned to like travel and, you know, like have all of these experiences, and like that just didn't happen. So yeah, it's definitely been tough, like especially with the time difference and just like having to like coordinate with like my professors in New Zealand. Yeah, it's definitely like tough.
Oh, so you're still doing the stuff with the professors, but New Zealand time.
Yeah, so like I would just kind of like do like lecture recordings, and I would like do them on my own, just like sit through the lectures. But in terms of like, you know, if I wanted to talk to a professor, like organize like a Zoom meeting, we had to like do it at a time that would work for both of us.
So then
So
what's the time difference there between us here?
I want to say like around 16 hours. It depends on like daylight savings and whatnot, but yeah, pretty big time difference.
That is legitimately huge. So like while you're awake, they're asleep, vice versa, something like
Yeah,
that.
pretty much.
Well, applaud.
So I'm guessing they're really understanding about that, right? Like the fact that you can't come to class.
Yeah, for sure. They've been like crazy accommodating, and like, you know, kind of like making sure that all of the students that are stuck overseas, you know, have access to like the same resources that like everyone over there has. But, you know, obviously we're at this like huge disadvantage because like all of them like get to go to in-person classes because obviously like the cases in New Zealand are like crazy low. So everyone like is pretty much like going back to like regular life. So like while I'm like over here, and so like it sucks like seeing my friends being able to like, you know, live their normal lives and like hang out with each other, and I'm like stuck here. So yeah, it's definitely been tough.
Well, applauds to you 100%, because that's definitely tough. And the fact that you're doing it overseas, amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I was ready to just kind of slide in here and be like, school has been tragic and difficult for me. And then you're like, so I'm from New Zealand and we're doing it is 7:30 a.m. right there, and it is 10 a.m. here. How I would die. That's really impressive. I think for me, kind of like the biggest thing has been accountability, because I am a procrastinator. I procrastinate on everything. It is just kind of it's my nature, and I'm really bad at holding myself accountable. And it's easy enough with like in-person classes where it's like you are going to go in and you are going to see your teacher, and then it's just then you have to like be like, hey, it's not done yet. But online it's just kind of like, yeah, sorry, it's not done yet.
So what was your excuse?
I'm in a pandemic, man. And I do definitely understand that it's a really tricky situation, because it's like you want students to be able to learn and be in a place of learning, and then also students are struggling. I don't know that I've met anybody who's like, yeah, I'm doing great in school right now, right? Everybody's having trouble. If their grades are high, then their grades are high, but like it's a difficult situation, and it's hard to adapt. Luckily, I was already taking some online classes already. I'm homeschooled, so I was already kind of familiar with that, but then to have that just be everything is it's difficult.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think just the accountability and holding yourself to like the standard that you want to be at, and just being like you can do it, and motivation is such a hard thing. Like I definitely, motivation is not very there, but I completely get that. Rena, Adrien, do you guys want to say something about your most difficult challenge at school?
Yeah, sure. So my school, like 1 month ago, went in person for some I don't understand why, but I think the cases in San Francisco were low enough that they can send like kids back to school because the infection rate among kids is like low. And they have us in groups and we have like masks and social distancing. And it's really strange and kind of like difficult to learn because the teachers are so stressed because they have to do like 2 classes at once. And it's my mom's a teacher there too, and it's like really difficult for her because she has to teach like art over Zoom and in person, and it's hard to focus on the kids. So like we're also learning less because they have to do so much extra work. And yeah, so it's kind of difficult in that way, but it's also really awesome that we can go to school and that like we're allowed to.
So from the sound of it, it sounds like you're in school, right, Rena?
Yeah, but
So
some
then
people
how is that?
some people stay home too. But
Right.
how it's affected me is now we just have to get up a lot earlier, but the rest isn't that different.
School times definitely for me personally suck because my school starts at 7:45 in the morning, and to some people that's a good time, but for me that's way too early to function, especially online. And I hate going on a Zoom and like looking at the screen that early, and I don't have any motivation to do my work. So definitely think school times suck online.
And then teachers expect you to like be like, oh, you know, class, like this is our Zoom call. If it would be appreciated if everyone could turn their cameras on. It is 8 a.m. in the morning. Miss Ma'am, I'm not turning my camera on. I look like garbage. I don't want everyone else to know that. And then they're like, oh, if you want to turn your mic on, you can turn your mic on and sound like this to everyone. I think not. I know it's hard for the teachers, completely understand. But I cannot, I refuse to dig my own grave like that.
Oh my gosh, online school
It's not
embarrassment.
happening. It's not happening.
Online school embarrassment is at a whole other level. Adrien, what about
It's
you?
so crazy because now this is the struggle.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sierra.
No, you're fine. Adrien completely hopped in. Guys, this is a table talk.
Yes.
This is table talk without the.
Finish. I'm so sorry. Okay. Well, I don't really have much to add. All of you guys just covered like the main points I was gonna say as well. Just like turning on your camera, it's such a hassle. Even though they think it's like so easy within a click, we either A, don't have the motivation to do anything, or B, we're just either not paying attention, which you guys should be paying attention. But, you know, it's just kind of hard to, because you're just following other people who don't even turn on their cameras as well. We don't really want to do that. And well, they're just not in person to tell you, hey, we can't see you. So they don't really have much control, I guess. In quotes, in control of what we're technically doing. I don't know if that makes sense, but I mean, the nicest way
I think everyone
possible.
here gets it.
Like,
It's hard. It's because it's like you have to understand the teacher's point of view because now things are especially different and difficult, and it's also like the student's point of view too. Because it's so, I don't think it's so hard to grasp the idea how turning on a phone like or like iPad, whatever you use, computer we would love to do that any other time, and now it's the most stressful like burden we could ever like imagine. Like the idea of like because technology was like our escape at one point, you know, because we went to school and we did the work there, and now the work we have to learn it on here. So it's like I hate looking at my phone sometimes. I really do. It's so unbearable because I'm like, I have to watch Zoom calls and whatnot, and and everything is online. It's so different.
100%. It's just the whole don't want to do it. I think it's definitely just taken a toll on everyone in a different way. and how it affects you see technology, definitely. Because like now that I see, when I see my phone, I'm just like, I want to throw it away, but then I also want to like talk to my friends. So like looking at my friends through a screen is so bad. I just don't like it. But definitely, yeah.
It's frustrating.
I have one more thing to add. Like through another person's point of view, like there are a lot of kids who don't even have like access to technology. So that makes it like even harder and more difficult to navigate. And yeah, that was just like my comment. It's just harder for them because we can't go anywhere else. There's people who don't have the space or don't have the technology. And yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true, especially ooh. I was gonna do
Yeah.
another segue thing, but take it away.
Ooh, segue thing. Yeah, no, that's just me adding on your add-on. And just kind of like there are people who need resources and get those things from school. So even though I'm homeschooled, I do kind of understand how school works in general. And so there are people who depend on school lunches. There are parents who depend on this childcare. There are parents who are essential workers who go out and they work their day, and now they have their child, and that kid needs to be taken care of. Those children need to be taken care of, and they need to go and get their schooling somehow, even if they don't have the resources and access to the things that they need to do school. And then also parents are left in this dilemma of this child needs to be taken care of. I have to go do my job so that I can be somebody that my family can depend on. And it's just really tough for a lot of people. And I'm really lucky to not be in that situation. My dad is an essential worker. He's a pharmacist. And then my mom already worked from home. And then of course I'm homeschooled. So it's been an easier transition, but it's just my heart kind of goes out to a lot of people who are struggling and who have been struggling and who need these things and are not getting them.
Yeah, it's sad to say that a lot of people's needs were not met. And we did what we could. It was like, okay, we got stimulus, because I know what my school did was that if kids couldn't do online, they would get like homework packets, like the physical homework, which was another way to help out, like if they couldn't do online, and then lunches too. So yeah. And we are going to end this off with one more question. Feel free to hop in. So what are some skills that you have learned in quarantine during the COVID?
I can go. So I have gotten into embroidery, so hand embroidery. I'm trying to remember if I started that before quarantine or if I started it in early quarantine, because that was a year ago. But I got into embroidery, and I'd already done it once or twice, but I do really enjoy it, and it's very soothing and relatively easy to do. And it's a good way to pass the time. I've also kind of gotten back into crochet, by which I mean single stitch. That's kind of it. And then some digital art. I don't consider myself very good at drawing, but like I will do like simplified art. So like if you have a photo and then you just kind of like color block it, whatnot. I enjoy doing that. Yeah, I've maintained a lot of hobbies and also just not had the energy to do a lot more stuff. Like very early on, like those first kind of 2 or 3 weeks were like, yeah, quarantine, it'll be fun. We'll be a family. We'll hang out, right? Because this is only gonna last a couple months, right? And so we would do puzzles. We had family movie night. We still do that. But it was like, yeah, this is such a blast. And then all of a sudden it wasn't. It's like, this isn't stopping. And then you lose motivation. And then there's just fluctuating void of time. And every now and then you get a little bit of a spark of motivation, and you do end up doing something just to do something. And that's kind of how I've been spending my time. Those are my new hobbies, I guess.
I absolutely love those. They're so creative. Like, I love the digital drawing aspect. I personally do that too, but like, again, I'm also not an artist. I can't draw for the life of me, but I still enjoy doing it. Definitely, yeah. What about Rena? What do you have to say?
Well, I have been doing watercolor portraits of people for fun because I was really, really bored. And now I think I'm like kind of good at it, and I really like doing it. And I've gotten a lot better at that over quarantine. So that's nice. But like also for me, the beginning of quarantine was a lot worse than now because my mom had to go back to Japan because like her dad was sick. And so that's kind of hard because it was like the beginning and we had no idea what was happening with Corona. So like it was pretty scary. But now everyone's okay. So that's good.
That's great. And just a little, I guess, promo for Rena. She drew me this Rosa Diaz with pride flag. So like you guys should definitely check out her post-it portraits Instagram that I'll put on the video because she can draw unlike me. So definitely check that out. Yeah. Sierra, I think you're muted.
I know my microphone messed up for a little bit. That's why you didn't hear me. It was unmuted though. Yeah. I saw Adrien's little microphone unmuted, so hop in. Oh, that was an accident.
I swear.
See, hers was accidentally muted, unmuted. Mine was accidentally muted. Like, these are just happy accidents.
The accidents of Zoom. It's
exactly. Then Kyra, any skills besides wonderful baking, which now I want to see pictures of?
Oh, for sure. I would say because I was the philanthropy chair for my fraternity this semester, I kind of learned how to, I guess, start fundraisers and I guess like make little like donation bingos on Canva. I've never really been like a very tech savvy person, so I thought that was a very useful tool. So yeah, that's been a lot of fun. And just like networking in the time of COVID, like LinkedIn has been great for that. Yeah, I would say that is it. Unfortunately, I'm not very artistic. Like I wish I could draw like Rena could, but you know, we're not all gifted. So
I love that, like, we're over here like, see, I've been drawing, I've been crocheting. Kyra's like, I have my whole life going on over here. We are networking, we are baking, we have things going on. We are doing college in New Zealand, and I'm over here like, so I'm thinking of rewatching Sherlock again. Maybe I'll show my dad this time.
That's like the left brain and the right brain. It's just like, productiveness. And you're like, man, I should rewatch that show I already rewatched like 2 times. Like it won't hurt. I forgot this one little small plot point, so I have to watch it all again to remember all of it.
That's so relatable though. Just like I've definitely rewatched so many shows that I'm not sick of yet, but I know I will be soon. So that guilty is definitely there.
Okay. Well, without further ado, I would like to bring the first episode of Teen Talks, episode 1, COVID-19, to an end. Thank you everyone for watching. And before we go, we're going to have everyone plug themselves because everyone came here and they spent time out of their day and we love them. So we're just going to start with Rena. Plug everything and don't leave anything out. I will find it all.
Only if you want.
Well, like the art account is portrait on Instagram is post-it portraits, but if you like know me, you can follow at Rena Yamamoto. So
Would you look at Felix? He just plugged it in to his name thing.
I did. You can find me on Instagram at Felix_is_enduring. Somehow. Yeah, that's just my public account.
Their account.
My poetry one.
Do
Your
poems.
poetry.
I do. Yes, it's that is now my poetry. I've combined the things because I'm too lazy to maintain multiple accounts. So I do poetry and photographs of myself, I guess. Yeah, it's fun. I exist for your enjoyment. Have fun.
Adrien, if you'd like to share or if you don't feel comfortable, don't even worry about it. You're completely fine.
Oh no, you're all good. You can find me anywhere at actually it's Adrien. Hold on. I should actually put that as my name. Okay, yeah, but you can just search up actually it's Adrien literally anywhere. My account should pop up.
And Kyra, if you'd like to share or not, completely fine.
Yeah, for sure. So if you want to follow my Instagram poetry account, that's at the multiculturalist poet. My main account is on the screen. It's at Kyra Shahana. If you want to follow me on TikTok, because I've gotten into that this quarantine, it's at Kai and Bai. So yeah.
Love that name. And of course, you know us, Teen Thoughts, at teentalks.teen. And if you're watching it, you're probably watching it there. So thank you so much for joining us, you guys.
Thank you guys so much. This first episode, and you guys just kicked it off.
Okay.
And with that being said, bye everyone.
Bye.